The board, management, and staff of Morrison Media Group presents the 2026 anniversary celebration lecture of Morrison Media Group. Theme: Media's role in shaping social change, addressing inequities, and empowering voices. Chairman Alex Ndudi Enebele, FSM, President, Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria, Chartered. Keynote speaker, Professor Armstrong Idachaba, Professor of Media and Broadcasting Communication. Panelist, Professor Chris Ochonogo, Immediate Past Head of Department, Journalism and Media Studies, University of Port Harcourt. Dr. Ijoma Tobosia, Secretary, NUJ, River State. Dr. Sarah Joe, University Orator and Associate Dean, Faculty of Communication and Media, River State University, Port Harcourt. Dr. Ibiere Koki, Ignatius Aju University of Education, Rumolomini, Port Harcourt. Chief Host, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, Esquire, Chairman, Morrison Group. Date: Tuesday, 10th March 2026. Venue: Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5, East West Road, adjacent Obirikwere Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt. Time: 10 a.m. For more information, please call Kainde Paul Obofadi 081 063 41777 or Samuel Ajinwo at 090 454 00744. Signed, Management.
Good morning and welcome to Open Conversation on Atlantic Television Network. Open Conversation is the network's flagship political platform through which trending political news, events and stories are discussed with stakeholders. Through these conversations, ATN uses political talks about specific issues, party system and actor to explore hope and engender positive impacts to the society. Today on Open Conversation, we'll look at the stories. First, politics. Presidency debunks alleged Tinubu poisoning plot claims. And on Electoral Act, hybrid voting system to prevent vote enfranchisement, Abbas says. And ahead of 2027, PDP launches nationwide digital membership registration drive. And on INEC timetable controversy, APC says that Tinubu does not need manipulation to win. Still on 2027, ADC divided over Amechi's South-South endorsement. And on politics, APC governors, lawmakers clash over 2027 tickets. We are open for sponsorship of the program, advert placements, news, events, coverage, and commercials. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv. On Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network. You can also watch us on Avo TV, Niger TV, and Ifastech TV platform. You can connect with us on our ATN socials by subscribing, like, and share. Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network. Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1. And on X, Atlantic TV Net. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll delve right into the show. Do not go away. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Joining me on Open Conversation this morning is Comrade DZ Warmit, a PDP chieftain and also a political analyst. Good morning, Comrade Warmit, and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure seeing you again this morning, and you look good, by the way, Comrade Warmit.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
And on to the story. Presidency has dismissed viral reports alleging an attempt to poison President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the Aso Rock presidential villa. The claims, widely circulated on social media, suggested that a member of the presidential kitchen staff was arrested following intelligence reports of suspicious activities linked to food preparation within the villa. Reacting to the reports, the President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, described the story as false and misleading. He categorically stated that no kitchen staff was arrested and no poisoning attempt occurred, urging Nigerians to disregard the viral video spreading the allegation. The presidency maintained that there was no security breach at Aso Rock and warned against spread of unverified information capable of causing unnecessary panic and undermining national security. Security agencies have also not confirmed any arrest or investigation related to the alleged incident, while President Tinubu continues his official duties as scheduled. Comrade DZ Warmit, I don't know if you're aware of this story that was circulating around social media during the weekend. What is your take on this development?
Well, once again, thank you for having me. I want to say that in this case, let's just take what the presidency has said, that there is no such thing, as there is nothing like that happened in the villa. And it will be quite unfortunate for anybody to attempt to do such, to try to take the life of the president of this country for whatever reason is not justifiable. And the presidency has come to say there is no out of truth in that rumor that went around. But having said on the president, the first one was about the coup, which the presidency initially denied that there was no coup, there was nothing like that. It came out as rumor. At the end, they did an investigation and we got to know that certain persons have been arrested relating to the attempted coup on the president. Now, this one, the second time, I think, be it rumor or whatever, the presidency need to be very careful to check his closest staffs in the presidency, in the State House, to be sure. Maybe they need to go through another form of screening and scrutiny to make sure that we have clean hands in the villa, because like him or not, he's our president. I will not want any harm in any guise to happen to our president, the president of this country. So we want the security agencies, most especially the performing DG of the DSS, to quickly sweep into action and ensure that they sweep the kitchen of the president. The presidency has denied it. Yes, we have assumed to have believed it, but we still cautiously believe what they have said because of what we have experienced recently as regards the coup. So that is my position, that the president should, have more trustworthy persons around him.
Right.
Such stories.
All right. It appears from, like you just said, the initial rumor that came out first with regards to the coup and the presidency denied later turned out to be true. And in this instance, one would have expected that security agencies would also, come out to say, oh, no arrest was made to that effect. I mean, the poisoning allegation. But in this instance, the security agencies have all been silent. And this will be the second rumor with regards to the compromise of the president's security. The first was the coup, it was a security matter. And now this is a direct attempt, on his life. Should Nigerians, while the presidency is saying, oh, that Nigerians should take this with a pinch of salt, Nigerians should disregard this and not take it serious, should Nigerians be worried at this point if the security architecture is so lax, is so porous that the number one man, the commander of the chief of the armed forces, could have his life easily threatened if this is anything to go by? Should Nigerians be so worried? Should be worried about what this might mean for Nigeria moving forward?
Yes, we should, and I am very worried because, be it whether I'm PDP or not, I'm first a Nigerian citizen, and life of my president matters to me, and as such, I'm very worried and concerned about this second rumor, even though the presidency has denied it. With my little investigation, I know that the DG DSS is doing very well in his security, in managing the security architecture of his agency. And we want such persons to swing into action, because we don't want later to hear a story that it is true. Today we are saying that the presidency is coming to deny it. What if, assuming that it was true and it happened? It will be an unfortunate incident. So the security agencies need to really beef up security within the president and his family, ensure that his food, in fact, I would say before the president eats any food, they should test it. There should be a person that should be testing his food before he eats his food, because we shouldn't take this rumor for granted. In as much as the presidency has denied it, we shouldn't take it for granted, because the president is not a private person as we speak today. He's a public person. He belongs to all Nigerians, and we should be concerned about his health, his welfare, his life. And as such, this rumor should be taken seriously. And I will urge the security agency, most especially the DSS, to investigate it properly.
All right.
And see what to do about it. And also, being a searchlight on the president's kitchen, so to speak, because the president has to eat. But we need our president alive.
All right.
Good or bad.
All right. Now, still looking at this, but this time around from what Nigeria's reputation will be before the global community, before the international community. Now, do not forget the case of the former head of state, Sani Abacha, whose death was quite controversial, and there were different stories surrounding his death, but everything was pointing towards an assassination. Right now, we have a president now in democratic rule, and first of all, there was the attempt coup is something that has been happening within the West African region, but a direct attempt to the life of the president, and this one would say, okay, the first one, if it's anything to go by the Sani Abacha story, assassination of Nigerian presidents during the military era, that happened. How about now, under democracy? What picture is this going to paint, before the international community, with regards, considering, that Nigeria's reputation right now needs a whole lot of PR, if I may use that word?
It will really dent our image, to be frank, because it will, to a large extent, affect our nascent democracy that we are nurturing, and we don't want it to be truncated for any reason. So it's something that will give us, paint Nigeria in a bad light within the global community. And we wouldn't want such to happen to our country. We already have an image challenge, and trying to see how we can rebrand our image within the international community. So we wouldn't want this to add to it. And that's why we are saying that the security agencies should step up their game, beam their searchlight on the kitchen of the president, because it is not just for that rumor to come out. They said for every rumor there is iota of truth in it. And we saw that with the rumor of the coup attempt, which at the end the presidency and the security agencies alluded to that truly there was an attempt on the overthrowing the president. And this one attempt on the life of the president via lacing of his food or his plate is a call for concern. We do take it kindly. We want the security agency to take it very seriously because it will affect our international image, it will affect our democracy, it will affect and distort the peace and truncate the democracy we are having. So that's why it's a serious matter and shouldn't be taken lightly just the way the presidency has discarded it. No, there should be investigation. How? What happened? Who is responsible? All that should be done before the presidency should address Nigerians and give Nigerian details. We don't want a situation whereby they'll give us this sketchy information and tomorrow they will now confirm that yes, there was an attempt on the life of our president. No, that is not how to handle media. If this you tell the people, well, we have not verified this rumor, but we'll get back to you because he's our president. Whatever happens to him affects every citizen of this country, like him or hate him, and we are positively concerned about his life and his well-being. So it will affect our image, and that's why we want the security agencies to quickly swing into action to know what is really happening.
All right.
And make know the truth about the rumor of attempt on the president using poison or whatever in his patient.
All right, very well. Moving forward, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has explained that the National Assembly adopted both manual and electronic transmission of election results in the amended Electoral Act to prevent voter disenfranchisement ahead of the 2027 general elections. He said relying solely on electronic transmission could exclude millions of Nigerians due to inadequate internet coverage across the country. Speaking during a courtesy visit by the Spanish ambassador to Nigeria, Felix Costales, Abbas noted that nearly 40% of Nigeria remains underserved by internet access, making full electronic transmission impractical. He added that challenges such as unstable connectivity and electricity shortages could worsen voter apathy if electronic transmission alone were adopted nationwide. The speaker assured Nigerians that the 2027 elections will be more transparent, inclusive, and accommodating, citing ongoing collaboration with the Independent National Electoral Commission. He emphasized that Nigeria's democracy is evolving gradually and expressed optimism that continued reforms and international cooperation will strengthen the country's electoral process. Comrade Womit, what is your take on this electoral act? It has been quite controversial, raised a lot of dust, and at the end of the day signed into law by President Bola Tinubu. What is your take on Abbas' defense of the actions of the Senate, the National Assembly generally, in passing the Electoral Act?
Well, I want to start by condemning the defense of the actions of FRED led by Abbas. Abbas is a disappointment in the sense that they pass the will and wishes of Nigerians and later reverse it. That is the area I'm having issue with the speaker, where he has failed his constituency and has failed the Nigerian people. Now, having said that about the electorate, let me say this. You see, I was a staff of the National Identity Management Commission when it was under the presidency, and I was posted to Rivers State. And I even served in Thai local government, and there was something we did. We call it offline registration. In order to save our data, when we're doing the NIN registration, we register people. When we are done registering them or about, finishing the registration, generating data from every member that comes to register, we own our data, and immediately, or we move to a point where there is network, and immediately all the information we have generated all the data we have generated from the people that came to enroll will immediately drop at the back end. So it is a simple thing we can do without the manual transmission of result by only sticking to electronic transmission, because that will encourage violence, it will encourage politicians to, it's prone to manipulation compared to the electronic transmission of result. Now, the electronic transmission of result, the major issue they are having is network. Are we not using banks? Well, Abbas, is salary that is being paid from taxpayers, is he using, putting it in a Osusu account? Those people that are goes to collect money from traders, is it how he keeps his money? Is it not in the bank? What does the bank use? Is it not network? Beside that, there can be collaboration between the various network providers. Outside that, Nigeria can shoot this in a satellite where it will cover the whole of the country, and there will be no network issue. Even there is network issue in the rural area, immediately you have uploaded it. When you move to where there is network, it will drop at the IRF. So that is not an excuse. It's just to justify and give room for rigging. Maybe they are afraid that they will not be able to, in a free and fair contest, come back. And that's why they, reverse their initial position. And it is a shameful act by the House of Rep under the leadership of Abbas. So his defense of including manual collation of result is not justifiable. He's just trying to impress those that must have convinced or coerced them to change their initial position, which is in tandem with the wishes of Nigerians. So that is my position. So it's a disappointing thing that it is there, but it has been signed. And what I would say, the political parties and Nigerians and the candidates is incumbent on us as citizens to go with a dongun to the polling unit, because there is a section in that section 60 in the Electoral Act as amended 2026 that if the presiding officer fails, the presiding officer should not deliberately hinder the transmission of result. So if I go with dongun, I can tell him that, see, have internet transmit the result immediately. He cannot say no, because I've provided internet if his own is not working. So that is the other way to checkmate and make sure that these people that wants to rig the election for the purpose of introducing a manual collation of result. Because if you look at it, that just the collation of result manually, immediately that does not, the electronic transmission due to network does not go immediately. What they are saying is that the manual collation of result becomes the primary source. That is the major issue. That is the major issue. For no reason should the manually collated result become the primary source of result if you are taking a matter to the court. It should still remain the electronic transmitted result. That is what we are arguing, and that is what Nigerians are requesting from our members in the National Assembly that has shamefully disappointed us.
But in a previous interview that I watched, where Jega was speaking on the elections and how IREV, operated, and Beavers as well, when he was talking about internet issue, Jega mentioned that these machines were operating offline. He said that. I watched that interview. In fact, I watched that interview severally because I wanted to be sure that I heard him right. And he said it was offline. There was absolutely no need for any of these things to fail. Now, moving forward, I've also had an IT expert on my program, and he made it very clear that we do not need internet, like the National Assembly is saying, that we do not need internet for electronic transmission of results. And he was saying that that machine can be hard-coded in a manner that whatever, for example, when a screenshot is taken with that machine of the results that have been collated, it cannot be deleted, it cannot be edited. And even if there is no network there, it will remain in the system until you go to where there is network, just like you mentioned, DZ1 Met. Until you get to wherever you enter an area with network, it will automatically upload on its own. Now, writing is done, results are collated and all of that. In between the polling units, transition from the polling unit to the collection center, a lot can happen. A lot can happen, DZ1 Met. So what do you advise? Because you are a party chieftain, you have been active in elections, you know, over the years, and you have experienced these things that I'm talking about. How do Nigerians combat this, knowing that at the collection center, entrance into the collection center is very, very limited to only active INEC staff and few election observers, as it were. Sometimes they don't even let election observers enter.
You see, you have just said it. That was what I was saying that when I was working with NIMSI, online registration. Immediately you snap it, just like the tech expert said. Make an inbuilt system whereby it cannot be deleted or deleted. So immediately it is snapped. At once you get network, it will upload. It is not rocket science. Immediately, just even like your normal WhatsApp. If there is no network, you send a message, there is no network in a particular place, and you move to another place, immediately you get to where there is network, the message immediately automatically deliver. That is as simple as that. And most times, rigging takes place when the election is done with, transiting to the collation center. That is where most times they rig the election. You see where they will corner, you know, political stakeholders will corner INEC staff, take them to their house, rewrite the results before they get to the collation center. That is what is happening in most elections. That's what we see. You see, they'll just call them, take them to their house. Okay, look at the result sheet. No, cancel if they don't have another result sheet, original. They will now start canceling using TPEX to correct. And that's why most times you see our result, mutilated result sheets. Because during the transition, moving it from the polling unit to the collation center, this magic, according to Fela, government magic, this political magic will not take place. And that is why people are saying that, see, come, we can transmit this election and the result electronically. Immediately it is done, you snap it and send it. When you get to where there is network, I will advise even political parties to provide network with all this done, using it to give to the agent to go with even all the network. If there is no Airtel, there is what is it called, MTN, there must be growth, there must be one network that is strong in that area. And there is INEC report stating that 92% between INEC and the tech
NCC. NCC.
Yes, that there is 92% internet coverage of all the polling units. So you see that these politicians are just... But
the Senate is saying something different. Senate is saying 40%. That is what Senate is saying, 40.53%.
The Senate is the worst in the history of this country. is the worst in the history of Nigeria. The 10th Senate under His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio is the worst. So we cannot take what comes out from the Senate, except the minority caucus of the Senate. Yes, if the minority caucus of the Senate says so, we will believe them, but not the 10th Senate as led by Akpabio. That cannot be correct. Because INEC has said it. What is it called?
NCC.
The tech companies have said it. Akpabio is not an expert in that. The Senate, most of them are senators are not experts. The experts have said this is possible. They said no. We all know it's for political reasons to make a caveat, give them loopholes where they can, some of them can manipulate because they are not popular. They are not. That is the simple truth, not to mince words. They are not popular and they are afraid that power will be transmitted to Nigerians by so doing, and Nigerians will be able to punish those of them that are not performing in the House and both in the executive and legislative arm. So that's why they have refused that this in automatic time transmission of electronic election result electronic. That's why they have refused to. Just imagine what House of Rep did now. After passing the real thing, they went back and changed. In Rivers State, but Nigeria, because he stood and worked out with them when the ruling party and the majority of the Abbas-led House of Rep decide to thwart Nigerians' demand, decide to work against Nigerians. They said no, they stood on the sides of Nigeria. And I want to really, once again on this platform, commend Right Honorable Chinda for that wonderful action and for standing with Nigerians all the time. His performance is unmatched on the floor of the House of Rep as a minority leader. I want to commend him, and most also the minority members of the House. They stood for Nigerians and also in the Senate. All
right. Comrade Womet, finally, before we move on to the next story, you would expect, right, that the Senate or the National Assembly generally, in passing this electoral act, considering the uproar, considering the outrage and the level of controversy that it generated, Nigerians would have wanted, there is something called public hearing when you're passing a law. There is something called public hearing. Now, I was expecting, and I'm sure Nigerians were expecting, that the telcos would have been summoned by the Senate to inquire on this network penetration and make it very transparent. At least let it be that the telecommunication companies on the floor of the House, say that they are unable to deliver these elections with regards to internet challenges. However, you see the telcos coming out after, during this whole controversy, the telcos came out to give Nigerians very different statistics from what the National Assembly was telling Nigerians. While National Assembly was quoting a very low percentage with regards to internet penetration and coverage, the telcos came out to give Nigerians a very different statistics and a higher statistics when you look at it, about 40% difference. That was a lot. Now, one would have expected the National Assembly would have invited the telcos on the floor of the House, and hear from them with respect constituted to supervise the registration process and address related complaints. These are Womits. You are a PDP chieftain, and now we are at the corridors of your party. What do you make of this move by the Turaki-led PDP leadership?
Well, you see, the e-registration issue is a commendable one. Now, let me say this. You see, the what is it called? Civil society organization were focusing on section 60, subsection 3, which is the electronic transmission of result at real time. And the politicians follow the wagon, the political parties, at the expense of section 77 of the Electoral Act as amended 2026. Now, if you look at section 77, subsection 2, it talks about digital registration of members, including names, date of birth, local government, state, ward, polling unit, NIN, and passport. And no political party has that information digitally. None. They have to go and start the process now. And if you look at that same section, section 77.4, it talks about not complying with that, the penalty for not complying with that. Section 44, 77.4 talks about those information you have generated, the digital registration of register that you have generated, you need to submit it to INEC. Section 77.6 and 8 talk about the consequences of not doing both 77.2 and 77.4. It is now political parties are realizing their mistake of just focusing on section 60, subsection 3, which is the electronic transmission of results, because that was what we were focusing on till now. Not knowing that with this one, you might not participate in, if failure to comply with those sections, you might not be able to participate in the 2027 elections. And that's why so many political parties are waking up to the realization that they need to do this. Some have even opted to go to court because they said, following section 1, subsection 1.3 of the Nigerian Constitution, that any law that is inconsistent with the Constitution, to the extent of its inconsistency, is null and void. But before you go to court, comply with the law, so you will not be left out in the general election, because you need to go to court to give, validate that section of the Constitution you are talking about. And before the court will do that, maybe the 2027 general election must have come and gone. What do you do? So I urge the opposition party to go ahead and start the registration process. We know in the 2022 Electoral Act, section 77(1), you are supposed to, no, section 2, subsection 2, you are, it is 30 days to your primaries, you are supposed to submit this list, though it was manually there. But now they've reduced it to 21 days. And INEC timetable, from their timetable, all political parties must have concluded their primaries by 30th of May. So political parties have this month of March to do that digital registration of members and submit the result, the register to INEC. And that is what they should look at, not the court. Because failure to do that, you amount to we having only APC producing candidates. And that's why I want to commend the PDP for starting the digital membership registration. It's something that can be done online. Yes, they have said to all polling units and all wards and local government. But they should also know there is something that you don't need to travel to do it. It's online. So members will not go through the stress of traveling and so on. They should create centers. You can call it special centers for members that are not in their primary place of voting to come and register, but come with their details, because you need to include your name. And if the information you are giving does not tally with what is in your name, that means that registration is invalid. So it is not, it needs careful attention. It needs careful, pursuit of the registration process. And that's why I want to commend the party for commencing such a thing in a very short time notice, in as much as we feel that this would have been done after the 2027 presidential election. But since it has INEC, as the law has been signed, we have to comply. Before even want to go to court, we can go to court, but let's do the registration. Otherwise, it will be only APC, because they are the ones that have complied with it, and it seems they have information before today, so they have been doing their own digital membership registration. And I want to say that no matter what, even though you are able to register 50 members in all the states, they should go ahead and do it, because the act does not tell you the number of members to be registered. It just said digital registration of members. Submit it, because those members are the ones you use to produce your candidate, and anybody that is not in that digital register will not be able to vote or be voted for. So it also blocks the campaign. Maybe after APC primary, those that lost out want to join other party, you will not be able to do that again. So everybody needs to rush and do their membership registration in order not to be left out within the political parties. And also, when submitting their digital report, they should make it known that because of the short period of time, they are not able to reach out to all their members. But so far, these are the ones that have been able to register and submit it. So it will be on record that the members that the names of the register being submitted is not a true reflection of the membership of the party. It's just an exigency plan that they use to at least generate members to be able to produce candidates that will fly the party flag come the 2027 general election. I think that is why the PDP must have, the Turaki-led PDP must have done that.
All right, very well. Now, let's go into PDP proper. Do you think, considering the crisis that PDP has experienced, since 2022 till now, do you think PDP is ready for 2027 elections, considering that the date has been shifted to January and February? Do you think PDP is ready for elections?
You see, PDP is ready for election because PDP is already rooted in the hearts of Nigerians. PDP is in every nooks and crannies of this country. That is the only party that you can see in every town and villages in this country. So we are ready, in as much as we have one or two challenges which we overcome. We are just waiting for the pronouncement of the appeal court. At the time we are done with our challenges, definitely we will be able to present a candidate for all elections. And also, Nigerians have been yearning for PDP to come back. Nigerians have been yearning for PDP to stand strong once again. So those challenges does not eliminate the fact that we are the leading opposition party in this country. And I believe that strongly, when we resolve our issue, rather, we'll be able to meet up with everything. We might have one or two, setback because of the challenge, the crisis, but at the end, we'll be able to show our strength, being that we are rooted already and we have been on ground right from 1999.
All right, very well. Moving forward. The All Progressive Congress in Ondo State has dismissed allegations by the African Democratic Congress that the revised 2027 election timetable released by the Independent National Electoral Commission was designed to favor President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The party describes the schedule as lawful, balanced, and fair to all political parties. In a statement issued by the state APC spokesperson, Steve Otaloro. The ruling party defended INEC's directive requiring political parties to submit digital membership registers, describing it as a progressive reform that will enhance transparency, strengthen internal democracy, and reduce disputes arising from manipulated party records. The APC maintained that credible political parties should have no difficulty complying with the timeline. The party further rejected claims of electoral manipulation, insisting that President Tinubu's re-election prospects will depend on governance performance. Rather than political conspiracy. It urged opposition parties to respect INEC's independence and focus on presenting policies to Nigerians, expressing confidence that ongoing economic and structural reforms will strengthen public support for the ruling party ahead of 2027 polls. Comrade DZ Womet. Yes, APC has come to say that, to speak in favor of the timeline for submission of digital registration, digital membership registers by political parties to INEC. And they're saying that any political party that is ready, that is also viable, should not have a problem with the timeline. You disagreed with that initially, but I'm interested to know what your take is, considering the argument that APC is proffering.
You see, definitely, APC will say that because it favors them. In a sister platform, when I was talking, I told them that the president has adopted what I call stilled decapitation politics or stilled decapitation strategy to deal with the opposition. And the opposition need to titrate, the strategy of the president and come up with strategy to counter it, otherwise it will beat them to it. And one of it is this section 77 we are talking about. Because if you look at it, as I said, the opposition should not waste time and rush to the court first, do the registration, comply with the section first. Because if you look at, they are saying that following section 1, subsection 1, 3 of the Nigerian Constitution, that that section in the Electoral Act is inconsistent with the Nigerian Constitution, and as such is invalid because following section 66, section 107, section 137, and section 182 talks about the disqualification, reasons for disqualification of a person that is contesting an election. And if you look at section 65, section 106, section 131, and section 177 talks about qualification. And that is why I told, I'm telling our opposition members that, see, come, if you look at the criteria for qualification, there is something that is stated there. He said, like in 65 2B, no, 2D, in 106 1D, in 131 1C, and 177 1C, you must belong to a political party and be sponsored by that political party to qualify to contest election. So INEC in that section 77 is not disqualifying a person from contesting. It is a party that it is disqualifying that has not met the requirement of the law. And there is no independent candidate in Nigerian Constitution. So if you don't meet that, your party don't meet that requirement, and you contest, there is no way INEC will accept whatever comes from the party as the candidate nomination. And that's why I say it is a stilled decapitation strategy by the president and the APC to beat the opposition political party, because if you don't meet it, if you don't meet the requirements, come 2027 you will not be able to field candidate for any position at all. So it favors APC, and the APC will definitely support it because the time frame is very short. Let's be frank, the time frame is very short to do that. But the law has been signed. What do? You try and comply. And them saying that the president does not manipulation to win election. That is not correct. With the insecurity, with the hunger in the land, definitely the president will need some manipulation